Hi, once again welcome back to Obstetrics and Gynecology videos. Today we are going to see about menstrual cycle. If you are looking into the normal menstrual cycle, the average duration of the menstrual cycle is 28 days and it ranges from 21 to 31 days. But only in 15% of the cases we are getting that exact 28 days. In others it will range from 21 to 35 days. And the average duration of menstrual flow is 3 to 8 days. And normal estimated amount of blood loss during each menstrual cycle is 30 ml of blood. That is the average amount. And if you are thinking about the ovulation occurs after 14th days of menstruation. That is 36 hours. And the phases of menstrual cycle and ovulation is regulated by the interaction between hypothalamus, pituitary and ovaries. And the age of menarche. Menarche is the attainment of first menstruation, that is 12.7. That is the average age of menarche in India. And the age of menopause is 51.4. Menopause is the stoppage of menstruation. And the menstrual cycle, already I told you that it is linked with the ovarian, pituitary and hypothalamus. These hormones are regulating the normal menstrual cycle, and the typical duration also I have told you, it is 28 days. These 28 days is divided into 4 phases: follicular phase, ovulation, luteal phase and menstruation. During these phases, hormone rise and fall will occur, that we will see in the. See, this is follicular phase. At the end of the follicular phase, maximum LH surge will occur, and immediately after, within hours of LH surge, ovulation will occur, and after that luteal phase will occur, and it ends with the menstruation. So follicular phase, ovulation, luteal phase and finally menstrual cycle. And if you are looking into the hormone level, during the follicular phase you can see estrogen, follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. These 3 things level will be very high, but the progesterone level is low. This is the graph which is showing the progesterone, but it will be low during the follicular phase. But after the ovulation, these follicular stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone and estrogen level hormone also will come down, and the progesterone level will increase. So the main hormone which is guiding the or which is leading all the roles in the luteal phase is progesterone, and the follicular phase is estrogen, FSH and LH. So we can go to the follicular phase. Already I have told you that it begins when the estrogen levels are low. In the beginning of the follicular phase, in the graph you can see the levels of estrogen is low. Later the anterior pituitary secretes follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. It stimulates the ovarian follicles to develop. And once if the ovarian follicles develops, the eggs will enlarge, it will start to release estrogen. This ovarian follicles starts to release the estrogen. This makes the uterine lining to become thick. So certain changes will occur in the uterine lining. So it will become thick in response to the estrogen or because of the action of the estrogen. And next, after the high levels of luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, ovulation will occur. Even after the ovulation also, for a few days this follicle stimulating and ovulation luteinizing hormone levels will be there. And in ovulation, what is happening means this follicle, fully grown ovarian follicle will rupture and it will release the ovum into the fallopian tube. And after the ovulation, we know that it is luteal phase. In the luteal phase, once if the Graafian follicles are ruptured and if it has released the ovum, the balance empty follicle will be there. These empty follicles will turn into yellow color, and that yellow colored follicles we are calling as corpus luteum. These corpus luteum will release more amount of progesterone and it will secrete little amount of estrogen also. This estrogen, it further deals to the development of the uterine lining or uterine endometrium. And if the lady becomes pregnant, when the embryo releases, when the embryo is getting formed, this embryo will release a hormone, that is human gonadotrophic hormone, by the placenta, and it will preserve the corpus luteum and this corpus luteum will be producing progesterone again, and it will help for the maintenance of the pregnancy. And if fertilization is not occurring, or if the embryo formation is not occurring, what will happen means the fetus or the embryo is not producing hormones to support the corpus luteum. So what will happen? The corpus luteum will begins to disintegrate, or it will degenerate, and the progesterone level will come down. So what will happen to the uterine lining? It will detaches and it will come as menstruation. In the menstrual fluid, we can see the tissues, blood, unfertilized egg cells. All these things will be coming out through the out from the uterus through the birth canal. That is known as a menstruation, and it may last for 3 to 7 days, or in some cases 3 to 8 days. And if you are looking into the picture of ovary during this phase, these are the primary follicles which are there in the primary graphene follicles in the ovary. This is growing gradually, and towards when the girl is attaining puberty, it will be almost having this size and or this size and shape. And in the follicular phase, when the follicle stimulating hormone will act on these follicles, on the graphene follicles, and it will produce the maximum growth of the follicle, and it will become like this. This luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone will ensure the will activate the growth of the follicles, and finally at the end of the follicular phase, after the LH surge, luteinizing hormone high level, this follicle will rupture and it will release the ovum. See, after the rupture, the follicle will be like this. The complete balanced follicle will be there, and the ovum has released into the fallopian tube. And this follicle will turn into yellow color. It will get closed completely. And this follicle with the empty follicle, that is a follicle without ovum, that yellow colored thing is known as the corpus luteum. And this corpus luteum is producing progesterone, and it helps for the maintenance of the pregnancy once if pregnancy is occurring. Otherwise also it helps for the growth of the endometrium, and it makes the endometrium to receive the fertilized ovum. And if you are looking into the uterus, see, in the menstrual phase, the uterine endometrium, this is the uterine endometrium. In the menstrual phase, it is shedding, and its thickness was up to here, and after the menstruation, its thickness has reduced, and now it is having only this much of thickness. And here the follicular phase begins. After 4 days of menstruation, follicular phase started over here, and the follicles, when the follicles are stimulating the graphene follicles, when the follicle stimulating hormone is stimulating the graphene follicle will start to develop, and it will produce estrogen. This estrogen will make the endometrium to grow, and it will grow slowly, and by 14th day, we know that maximum level of follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone will be there, and ovulation will occur. This is ovulation, and at this time this much thickness will be there, but it is not developed completely. That vascularity, blood vessels, all those things are very less in this uterine endometrium in this phase. But after the ovulation, we know that the corpus luteum will develop, and this corpus luteum will start to produce the progesterone in the secretory phase, and this progesterone will make the endometrium thick and spongy, and more vascularization also will be there towards the endometrium. And once a fertilization is occurring, the fertilized ovum will come and get embedded. It will get embedded or get implanted into this endometrium. Otherwise, if the fertilization is not occurring, what will happen means menstruation will occur. Okay, this is the changes that are occurring in the ovary and in the uterus. You can compare these two changes. And if you are looking only into the graphene follicles, the primordial germ cells, it will become primordial follicle, and this primordial follicle will develop, and it will develop a fluid-filled cavity, and later primary multiluminar follicles will be there, and this mature thing is known as graphene follicles. This graphene follicle will break, and it will rupture, and it will release the ovum, that is ovulation. After the release of the ovum, this valence graphene follicles is known as corpus luteum, and once if fertilization is not occurring, it will get degenerated because HCG, human chorionic gonadotrophic hormone from the placenta, of the baby is not supporting the maintenance of this corpus luteum, it will degenerate and it will produce the corpus albicans. And if you are going to the physiology of menstrual cycle, ovulation divides menstrual cycle into two phases, follicular phase and menstrual phase or secretory phase. In the follicular phase, it begins on the first day of the menstrual cycle and it ends with the ovulation. And in that case, recruitment, that hormones which are helping for the follicular phase, already we have seen it is follicular stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone and estrogen. Now we can see the role of follicular stimulating hormone or FSH. It helps for the maturation of cohort of ovarian follicles, that is recruitment. That is, it helps for the maturation of a group of ovarian follicles. That is, not only a single ovarian follicle is developing, a group of ovarian follicles will start to develop in response to the follicular stimulating hormone. But only one graphene follicle reaches the maturity. And in the follicular phase, the maturation of the follicle will occur, and that is known as the folliculogenesis. That is the main function of the FSH. This FSH acts on the primordial follicle. This primordial follicle is oocyte arrested in the diploid stage of the first meiotic division, surrounded by a single layer of granulosa cells. And this, because of the action of this FSH, it will become primary follicle. And it is an oocyte surrounded by a single layer of granulosa cells and a basement membrane called theca cell also. And later it will become secondary follicle or preantral follicle. This oocyte will be surrounded by the zona pellucida and several layers of granulosa cells and theca cells, that is secondary follicle. So these are the changes which are occurring in the graphene follicle or in the follicles of the ovary in response to the follicular. And later the tertiary or antral follicle will develop, that is secondary follicle will accumulate fluid, and that fluid filled cavity is known as the antrum, and in this stage the oocyte is known as the tertiary or antral follicle. The ovum will be in the eccentric position and it will be covered by granulosa cells and cumulus pyophorus. Okay, now in the folliculogenesis, already I told you that a group of cohort will be selected, that is a group of cells will be selected, and from that only one single cell will become the complete graphene follicle, and only that one will be releasing the ovum. And this selection process will occur between 5 to 7 days, and this selection is on the basis of its capacity to synthesize estrogen, that is which cell is producing maximum amount of estrogen, that cell will be selected. And one more thing is which cell is having maximum amount of follicular fluid, that is also a selection criteria. So the amount of follicular fluid and the amount of estrogen which is produced by the particular cell and the number of follicle stimulating hormone receptors in that particular cell. These three things are the selection parameters. So which cell is having maximum follicle stimulating hormone receptors and which cell is producing maximum amount of estrogen and which is having maximum amount of follicular fluid, that will be selected, and only that will start to thrive and develop, and others graphene follicles that have started to develop will get a negative feedback from the pituitary. Next is FSH action. So it helps for the recruitment of cells, it helps for the mitogenic effect, that is it helps for increasing the number of granular cells, and it helps for, it stimulates a follicle stimulating hormone receptors in the graphene follicles, and it stimulates aromatase activity, and it helps for the conversion of androgens, and estrogens will become estrone and estradiol, and it helps for the action of the LH receptors also. So these are the functions of follicle stimulating hormone in total. And next is estrogen. It acts along with the follicle stimulating hormone, and it helps for the induction of luteinizing hormone receptors, and it induces follicle stimulating hormone receptors in the granulosa and theca cells, and these are the main functions of the estrogen. And along with that, already we have seen it helps for the development of the endometrium also. And now let us move to the luteinizing hormone. It acts on the theca cells, and by the uptake of cholesterol and LDL, it helps for the androstenedione and testosterone release. The other factors that plays in the folliculogenesis include inhibin and activin. Inhibin acts on the pituitary and it gives a negative feedback on the follicle stimulating hormone secretion. And it's a local peptide which is present in the follicular fluid, and it enhances the luteinizing hormone induced and androstenedione production. And activin is also a hormone which is present in the follicular fluid, and it stimulates the FSH induced estrogen production, and it acts on the gonadotrophic. Next, in the pre-ovulatory period, a negative feedback will go to the pituitary. Already we have seen this estradiol and inhibin will give a negative feedback on the pituitary, and it will reduce the follicle stimulating hormone production. This mechanism is operating since childhood. So up to puberty, this negative feedback mechanism will be there, and it suppresses the production of follicle stimulating hormone. That's why the child is not getting menstruation. Later, a positive feedback on the pituitary will come. That is, estradiol will reach to a threshold, and it will give a positive feedback on the pituitary, and it facilitates by lower levels of progesterone also. And because of this, it will act on the luteinizing hormone. It will start to produce luteinizing hormone, and LH surge will occur. And after the LH surge, we have seen ovulation will occur. And after the ovulation, we have seen that progesterone production will occur. And this complete mechanism will start after the puberty only. And the pre-operative period, already I told you that pre-ovulatory period, already I told you that LH surge will occur, and this high level of luteinizing hormone is known as LH surge, and it lasts for 48 hours, and ovulation occurs after 36 hours. And it is accompanied by a rapid fall in estradiol level, and it triggers the resumption of meiosis. It helps for the meiosis, and it affects the follicular wall, and that leads to that reduction in the estradiol level and action on follicular wall leads to the follicular rupture, and that leads to the ovulation. That is, granular cells go to the lutein. Then later what will happen means these granular cells which are remaining over there will become corpus luteum, that is, and it will start to produce a progesterone. That also. And in the ovulation, the dominant follicle produces from the ovarian cortex will be forming ovum, and that will release the oocyte into the surrounded granular cells. And the mechanism of follicular rupture, how this follicle is rupturing means, when the fluid is getting formed inside the follicle, follicular pressure will increase, and that's a reason. That is, colloid osmotic pressure is a reason, and enzymatic reason is also there. That is, follicle stimulating hormone and LH luteinizing hormone will act on the granular cells, and it produce plasminogen activator. This plasmin is having a fibrinolytic activity, and that leads to the breakdown of fibrin wall in the of the luteinizing hormone, and this produce prostaglandin. Prostaglandin is a hormone which is producing contractions of the muscles, and that leads to the contraction of the wall, and that will leads to the breakage. And one more thing is that it will activate the plasminogen activator, and again it will produce prostaglandin F2 alpha, and this also will leads to the breaking down of the follicles. And in the luteal phase, that is, it lasts for almost 14 days after the ovulation. Mainly the formation of corpus luteum will occur. After the ovulation, the point of rupture of the corpus luteum will get sealed, and the vascular capillaries cross the basement membrane and grow into granular cells. And by using the LDL, cholesterol and LH, the LDL binding receptors, all these things will produce a progesterone. All these things together will support the production of. In the luteal phase, maximum progesterone secretion will be there, and this progesterone increases the body temperature. That's why we are getting high basal body temperature in the luteal phase, that is after the ovulation, and it helps for the maturation of the endometrium, and it suppresses the follicular maturation in the ovary. And this high progesterone level will be there for 8 days after the ovulation. And after 8 days, if fertilization is not occurring, what will happen means it will start to degenerate. That is, gonadotrophin sensitivity of the corpus luteum will decrease and luteolysis will occur, and the estrogen and progesterone level will come down, and that leads to the disformation of the endometrium. And the estrogen and progesterone level will come down. Already I told you, follicle stimulating hormone, LH hormone also will come down, and later the new cycle of the menstruation will begins after the menstrual flow. And if pregnancy is occurring, this placenta of the baby will start to produce a human chorionic gonadotrophic hormone, and that will maintain the action of the corpus luteum, and the corpus luteum will be producing progesterone again, and it helps for the maintenance of the pregnancy, and it helps for the support of the pregnancy. And now we can see the changes in the endometrium during the menstrual cycle. We know that endometrium is having basal layer and functional layer. This basal layer is near to the myometrium. Already we have seen in the anatomy and physiology. If you are having any doubt, you just go through the anatomy and physiology of female reproductive system. Already that video is there. And this endometrium basal layer is very close to the myometrium, and it is not having any changes during this cycle. That is, it is not responsive to the hormonal changes, and it remains intact throughout the menstrual cycle. But if you are coming to the functional layer of the endometrium, it composed of two layers, zona compacta and superficial layer, that is spongiosum layer. And in the follicular or proliferative phase, estrogen will increase the mitotic activity of the glands, that is number of cells will increase, and stroma cells also will increase, and the thickness of the endometrium will increase 2 to 8 millimeter. And in the luteal phase, that is in the secretory phase, the progesterone again it will act on the endometrium, and the mitotic activity, that is cell division, will decrease, but the size of the cell will increase, and endometrial gland will produce or secrete glycogen-rich vacuoles, and stromal edema will occur. That leads to the enlargement of the stroma, and spiral arterioles will develop, and lengthening of this arterioles also will occur. It will become coiled structure. And if the fertilization is occurring, this endometrium will remain over there. The progesterone which is secreting by the corpus luteum will helps for the maintenance of the endometrium. Otherwise, this formation of the endometrium will occur, and it will be coming as menstrual cycle. Just before the menses, the endometrium is infiltrated with the leukocytes, and prostaglandin also will be producing from the endometrium just before the menses. And this prostaglandin, already told you that it produces the constriction, and it will produce the constriction of the spiral arterioles, and it leads to the ischemia and disformation. And that is followed by, after the bleeding, it is followed by arterial relaxation and the tissue breakdown. So these are the important things of menstrual cycle. Thank you for watching this video. We'll be meeting soon with a new video.